Hey guys, so I thought I would take you to one of the sites we're about to install on. So we're going down to a warehouse in Basingstoke. We're going to be doing some internal line markings where we're using a full Gavico system for this. So we've actually got a primer, Gavico paint, Gavico sealer, essentially going to go in. Now, you guys know I normally do hand applied line markings indoors, and I'm a big advocate for doing it because I think it's better. But this one, we've only got one day to get it in. There's only two of us going on it, and there's quite a lot to get in, given that it's a very busy site. It's not a huge site. It's not very big. It's just that they've got to move all the stock outside. The weather's a bit iffy, and so we're basically going to spray the lines, is what I'm saying for this one, which is not my preferred way of working. So let's head down there. I'll show you what we're doing for the install. I'll talk you through it just, very briefly. And then I also had a question last week regarding the Titan line marking machines. Now, you guys know I give it a little bit of stick to these Titans. I don't think they're that great, but I wanted to show you some of the features because somebody had asked me about some of the great design features they have. But hey, you know what? We're going to go to the farm. I'm going to show you exactly what I dislike about them. We'll go through from there. Should be good. All right, let's head down to site. I'll show you Basingstoke, talk you through the project. Then we'll do the Titan, and then we're going to take you back to site, show you a few other bits and pieces that we're doing elsewhere around the country. Let's get to it. All right. All right, so this is the Titan, and I had a couple of questions last week from people regarding it. In particular, I was being asked about this, the height adjustment system, which I'm about to show you. I've also got the wanky wheel, known as the floating gun system, I think Titan, in fact, a Shore Track floating gun kit. We call it the wanky wheel. We don't particularly use it. I've got to be honest, you guys know I'm not a fan of Titan. In fact, I'm probably their least favorite customer. And it comes down to build quality. It really annoys me. But things I wanted to talk to you about, because I think Titan are onto some great things in terms of innovation and what they're trying to do with the machinery. I think it's just the execution that's really, really poor. But to talk about this height adjustment arm, it's okay. So in order to operate this, all you're gonna do is literally just undo this little screw that you've got at the front. You'll see that it loosens up this entire arm that we've got here. And then this handle here, all you're gonna do is turn it whichever way you wanna go. So if we wanted to raise it, it's a little tight, but that's essentially what we do to raise the gun. To bring it down and go lower, we'd go the other way. Now, I've got the wanky wheel on, so it's going a little bit skew-if, as you can see there, but that's essentially how it works. And the benefit and the idea behind this is really good because it means that you don't have to loosen. So for example, you don't have to loosen to raise things up and down. You can literally move everything in one go. So if you've got a laser attached to, say, your gun arm, you can literally move the whole thing one nice, easy movement in one go. I think that's particularly useful given how bad the Titan equipment is, as in the clamps and the stem that you get. So you'll notice we've actually swapped ours out for Graco because they're better. But it means instead of having to loosen these, raise them back up and trying to get them, even when you do them tight as you can get them, these things just wobble like crazy. One slight knock and it's gone. But it means you can avoid that, and you can essentially either weld them in place or you could swap out to Graco and not have that issue ever. But you can just raise everything up and down. Now, one of the issues you're seeing here, this thing doesn't sit straight. So we'll move on to the wanky wheel as well. The wanky wheel, or the floating gun kit as they call it, honestly, I had really high hopes. I spent $1,200 buying the floating gun kit, thinking it would be amazing. Basically, the idea is you go over a bump and it moves the gun up in a nice smooth motion and then drops back down, leaving you a perfect 4-inch width or whatever you're doing. perfect line that just looks amazing over every surface. The reality, as you can see here, I've got to retighten this again. And this is actually super tight. I can barely move it. But the reality is, the way the gun tucks up and stows is the real issue here, because as soon as you hit anything, it actually bumps up in the air and the gun tilts sideways. And that's because you've got a cheap butterfly clamp that holds the gun down in position. And this is as tight as I can get it. I've already broken some of these plastic clamps before, and we've had to switch to some metal ones and just bolt straight through. But basically, if you push this down, I can't tighten that anymore, but I'll go over a slight bump and you can see roughly how it's supposed to work. So essentially what we're gonna do is we'll come up to like a little bump in the road, and this thing will go up and down, nice and easy, just like that. Now, you do get a little bit of shake from it still, a little bit of wanky whiplash from it, but you get the idea. And I think it's a great idea in principle. I think it's just poor quality again, and it's not even poor quality on this arm per se, it's the clamp that attaches to it. That's what goes wrong with it. So great idea for the floating gun kit. Would I spend $1,200 on it again? Not on your life, no bloody way. I would rather burn $1,200 than buy one of these again. Quite frankly, it's the same thing. So yeah, there's a couple of really great ideas with these Titans. So if you're wondering how this thing works, really straightforward and simple piece of equipment, but bear in mind, the gun still shakes like crazy. You know, any vibrations still sort of wobble it. And so for us, we find it doesn't really work. We're very, very hesitant about using these Titan machines because ultimately, you know, we've got a professional business. We have to earn money from our customers and do a great job. We can't rely on this sort of machinery to do that. Now, by comparison, if I were to run a Graco over this, it would still make a bit of a mess. So that's why I don't think it's worth the money. You know, you could run a Graco and your line would just, you know, move in and out based on the bump. Better off just put some cardboard down or some tape, something like that, that'll just, you know, there's only going to be a few little areas like this on your entire site. So that's the way I would kind of go around trying to sort of figure it out and trying to fix it. But great idea from Titan, absolutely brilliant idea, just really, really poor execution. And you know, that's very much my opinion on the Titan as a whole. You know, even down to like the filters, these things are super wobbly. So like as an overview of the machines, and I hadn't intended for this to be just a moaning session about Titan. It's not what I'd intended, but it always seems to be every time we talk Titan. Front to back, you know, the floating gun kit, great idea. I wouldn't recommend buying it. The gun adjustment arm, great idea, just a little bit too flimsy in my opinion. The idea and the principle of being able to stow the gun and lift it up like this and it sort of tucks out the way, amazingly good idea, especially as you're putting this into a van or a trailer. I think it's a really, really good idea. Again, execution wise is just cheap and nasty, so not into that. I also dislike the stems and the clamps, and I changed mine to Graco. In fact, the only use I found for the Titan ones is I can weld them onto the front of this and hold my lasers on there so that my lasers are always out the way. But that's basically it. Engine is fantastic on these things. I've heard great things about the pumps, but do you know they rust? So for a great pump, and it does do great lines, they get very rusty. I know everyone has said how great the pumps are. I've gone through 2 or 3, I think, in the last 2 years that have all had to be replaced under warranty, but still not great. I've never had that with a Graco. Then of course we get to like the brakes. Like, that's the brake on now. Yeah, it's not great, let's be frank. And then you've got like the crappy filter housing that breaks. You've got the dials and controls that are just honestly appalling. The pointless electrics that don't work, the handles that just break. I mean, I've gone through 3 sets of handles in 2 years because they break. In fact, I've even had to have mine welded at the top because they come loose so often. We use Loctite, we use locking nuts on there as well. Even the locking washers on there still comes loose, comes and breaks off. And then of course you've got the spray tips that Titan themselves sell with the machines. These are shit. Quite frankly, swap them out for Graco, you won't go wrong. But the Titan ones that come with it, there's another one, we'll never use that. I just wouldn't bother with that side of it. The pump itself, yeah, I've heard great things about it from other people, but have they operated this new pump system? And if so, how long have you been operating it for? And what paints do you put through it? Because my ones, they produce great lines when they work. I've had 3 failures, arguably under warranty, but the outside of the pump is also rusty. Now, I've got Graco machines 3 years old as well that have not got a single bit of rust on them. They've never had a filter housing break and had to be re-welded. Never once have I had to replace a handlebar. Never once have they come loose. Never once have I had issues with the stems, with the brackets, not with the guns either, because the spray guns are awful. Now, as I said, it wasn't intended to be a bitching session about Titan. If you've got a Titan, good for you. Personally, I will never touch a Titan again in my life once these are gone, because they are honestly trash. Now, to give you an example of a Graco going over the same sort of bump, because it isn't just Titan, you know, Graco will have that problem. I've had it many a time, and as we go over this bump here, you're gonna see, oops, bumps right up in the air and bounces exactly the same. And so, yeah, you're still gonna have that problem, absolutely. But I honestly think if you get a bit of tape, a bit of wood, a bit of cardboard, something like that, you can fix it. Even the side wheel, you know, it's gonna bump up and definitely knock everything about. Now, I don't know why Graco haven't looked at the same as this sort of wheel system you could see with the Titans, why they've not adopted that or at least tried it. But honestly, maybe they just don't need to. Same with the filter housing. This thing is solid. It is bolted to the chassis with a huge plate of steel. It's not some cheap monkey metal from China or wherever. It's just good quality. Same with the clamps. You know, the clamps that we get on here, arguably I've not tightened this down, so if I tighten it up, you'll see these things barely move. They are absolutely, like the whole machine will shake. They're absolutely solid. And the clamp systems themselves, you know, they haven't got the nice groove cut in that the Titan ones have got, because they don't need it. The friction is so good. The other thing I find, it might seem trivial, right? It might seem really, really trivial. That's the brake on a Graco. See this orange thing here? That's your brake. And in order to turn this on, the brake, done. That's it. You want to take it off? Done. Super. And you know what? When it's on, that thing, look, and I'm like 92 kilos. I mean, I'm sure you're praying for me to fall here, but trust me, this thing is absolutely solid. If I were to slam the same brake on a Titan, Jesus, I mean, you're like calling ahead to the ER because these things are so shite. But this is the brake on the Titan, and I will stamp it on as hard as it'll go. But honestly, like, we're rolling. That's what I mean. Like, they're terrible. And check out the dials on the back. Now, I get this is a basic Graco by comparison, but these things like rubs against the plastic. It's just comes loose, the electrics fall off. I mean, if you put a cup of coffee or tea or whatever in this thing, you're gonna be wearing it. What is the point in this? You're literally gonna wear it. And like I said, with the spray tips, chuck them. They're literally rubbish, the whole thing. So anyway, I realize this has now turned into a Titan bitching session. But you know what, I think I'm entitled. I have spent an awful lot of money on these machines, and I feel that gives me a right to say when I think they're shit. I'm a qualified customer, and I'm qualified to say how shite they are. I honestly believe that. I hope you don't buy one, but who knows, maybe Titan will realize that people are pissed off with cheap shit and they don't want to buy their stuff anymore. That's all I'm going to say on it. If you wanted to know about those bits and the wheel thing and the wind up, honestly, it's a gimmick. Don't waste your time. Hope that answers the questions. Well, stop being miserable about it. Let's go over to another site and I'll show you a little install we're doing. Not with one of these. Hey guys, so I spoke to you a few weeks ago about warranties. What do you guys do about them? How does it work? How do you pay for it? Do you charge the customer additional money for warranties? How long do you offer them for? And more importantly,
Why do you offer a warranty? Is it because you think you need to, because your customers ask you to, or another reason? And I would love to hear from you guys about that. Now, the reason I ask is we are on site here in Peterborough today, and we're re-attending a site under warranty. Now, they don't have a warranty with us, but we're doing it out of the goodness of my heart because I feel that it didn't cost too much. It was reasonable as a request, and the customer was actually okay. So we're off doing it. Now, here's what we've got. We're doing some thermoplastic on concrete. Now, my preference would have been to use an MMA, but the customer didn't want to pay for the MMA, so they've only opted for thermo. So today what we're doing is we're grinding up. Now, you can see most of it looks pretty good. However, there are a few really high traffic spots that you can see here that are wearing out. Those are the ones where we need to replace the lines. Lee's just putting in some of the arrows or redoing some of these at the same time. So we've ground them off and we're just going to put them back in again. And same we've done with the text over here. So in front of all these lorries, we've re-put all the text in. Now, what we've done is we've run a grinder over the top of it that you can see here. This is literally taking off, grinding the surface off, sweeping it all up, and then we'll re-put it back in with a primer and then reinstall everything. So, not a bad little job. Now, there are a couple of other little bits we might look at. One thing the customers said to us though is about the black lines on the ground. Let me show you what they're on about. Now, these are the black lines that we see along here. And unfortunately, they are all over the site. You see, when we were installing this, the customer didn't want to shut the site. They didn't want to stop any transport, and so they carried on with all the lorries. And as soon as we'd put the line down, I mean literally within seconds, they were driving on it. And so all the oils, the rubber, the dirt, and everything else on the tires got sucked into the paint, and it left black marks all over the floor. The customer wanted us to cover that as part of the warranty, but unfortunately it's kind of dotted all over, so we're not going to cover that one. But it doesn't look too bad. Well, we are pretty much done. So what I'm going to do, it's a little bit noisy here. It's about end of the day, so we're going to just head back to the office real quick. I just got one more bit I wanted to go through with you guys, and then we're going to call it a day. And I look forward to seeing you guys after that. But let's head back to the office so you guys can actually hear what I'm even saying. Let's go.
So we're in the office this morning, and what we're actually going to do, we're filming for one of the episodes on starting a line marking company, and I made a little bit of a cock up. So we're setting up the camera here with some lighting so that we can get the stamps laid on the new letters that we had printed. This is for Edulines, the new line marking company we've started. Now, we have realized just now that we made an error. I've included a link below where you can book a meeting with us via Zoom, Teams, or a phone call, except I forgot to put the link in. Now, we've just tried it by adding a link onto the bottom of the page and printing ourselves like this, but honestly, it looks terrible. And this is what the other ones look like once we've got the stamp on. They look much, much better. So we're not going to produce the link. I think what we're going to have to do is get a business card printed and try and set it up that way. So this is just the close-up shot we're filming where we do the wax seal onto the new letters. So we've got it set roughly where we want it to do. All we're going to do now is film this, so we'll give it one good go. Ready? You filming?
Yeah.
So we'll add this on. Bit of wax. And hold it down for a minute. Nicely done. Some nice shots of what we're up to. The other guys are doing an install today. They're actually down in Southampton doing an MOT bay for a company down there. So they're installing that one. I was actually supposed to be in Spain this week. I had a flight booked on Tuesday. So I'd been to Amsterdam, come back for a couple of days, flown to Finland for the week, come back, supposed to fly the next day then to Spain for a week, but unfortunately had to cut that one short as we had a few staff changes here, and it meant I had to do a job myself, obviously, the other day, which I'm not used to doing. And then I had a few others planned this week, but we got rained off, and then today somebody else stepped in to pick up the work, so I haven't had to go to Southampton, which is nice. It means we've got some time to do some filming. So what we're actually filming, this is for the starting the new business, like I mentioned, and this one's a line marking company specifically for schools. And we wanted to film the episode showing what we're doing. So we had these letters printed. We spent hundreds on having letters made and then buying the stamp, the wax seal to make it look really cool. But of course, I didn't double check, and we didn't put the link on the bottom. I say I didn't put the link on the bottom. So yeah, not ideal. Anyway, look, that's pretty much it for this week. It's been a bit of an eventful week for us, I've got to be honest. I'm actually looking forward to the weekend. So I'm going to end the episode there, and I'm going to see you guys hopefully next week when we get another one filmed for you. We're also filming a bunch of content on start. In fact, let me show you real quick, right? So we're looking at some resin epoxy things here, but let me just show you what else we put together that might be helpful for you guys. So if you're thinking about starting your own company, at the very bottom, I have put down on, where did I put it? Find your niche, Oh, here we go. How to start your line marking company, what you might want to look at, what you might want to do. We put the first 2 videos up there for you guys as well, so you've got all the content as well. But this week we've also been filming. Let me just bring up. Okay, so this essentially is all about how to get customers in the door. So when you're looking at this, it's actually this one here, getting sales in the door. This is completely free of charge. So if you guys want a copy of this one here, we've put together all the content. We've also filmed all the videos for it now. So these ones, although they're on the YouTube channel, they're unlisted when they go on. So you guys can't find them any other way other than going through the free course itself. And when you go onto this, you can just add it to cart. That's literally all there is to it. It's nice and free. You can delete the other ones here. Yeah, completely free. It gives you access to everything that we've filmed so far. And I think it would really help most of the people I talk to on just, when they're looking to get sales in the door, grow their own business and, everything like that. Apologies for the teeth, by the way. I'm back to the dentist later on this week trying to get my teeth straightened out. And, 37 is never too late, right? Anyway, that's it for this week. I will look forward to seeing you all in the next one.